Welcome to today's stream. What we're going to do today, as you know, Tuesday and Thursday are sort of my live writing days. And today we're going to do like a little bit of like an advice practice stream and a live writing stream. And what I want to do today is I want to share with you what I'm doing for an extremely high-risk revised resubmit, an extremely high-risk revised resubmit decision that I got from a very top journal. And basically, this extremely high-risk revised resubmit is that they not only not like your theory, but they actually don't like how you came up with the with the frame for the paper. So it's not even about changing theory, but about changing your approach. And in my case, this was basically, the criticism was that I was doing like a straw person argument of existing literature, okay? And the reason why that happened was that, and I think this is a useful insight in itself, the reason why that happened is that I looked at the statements of a specific model in information systems research, which is a representation theory, and the reviewers looked at, all of the research on this topic, which had made some advances that were not in the model, but did not include those advances in the model. Now, what you could argue is that, okay, then I could do just a theory piece integrating those advances in the model. That's true. However, I still think, there was some value in what I was doing, because I was doing that empirically with data rather than just relying on existing papers. But nevertheless, that is the task. So what I have to do now is I have to come up with a completely new theoretical framework, okay? And it is a very top journal, so I need to make sure that this is novel and new and that I can do something with it, okay? So let me open this up and show you something, okay? So I'm going to open two presentations, but only one matters. And which one is it? This one. Okay. So, I teach this methods class that my friend Andrea invites me, to Denmark to teach this. And how do I do the notes? There we go. Okay. And so, and in that class, I basically show the students how, like, my MSQ paper from my thesis is actually on the topic of one of the first emails I wrote to my advisor. So it's basically my thesis is just like going around and then drafts and so on, and then I just basically through the review process just come back to that idea. So what I learned from that and what I teach students is that you really need to trust your intuition as a scholar, and don't forget your first ideas, okay? So my first idea for this paper is sort of like displayed in this graph, and it basically says that there is this process in organizations called transfiguration work, which is one of my MSQ papers, and I'm looking at this other paper. So from reporting to analysis, okay? And so what I thought that I could do to frame this paper is basically do this. So what I'm saying is there's this whole process. We know how this first half happens. I'm going to show you with data how the second half happens. And then I'm just going to build an integrated model of all of this, okay? Now, as I told you, in previous videos, there need to be two theoretical contributions, two theoretical layers to a paper. One that is more sort of like phenomenon based. So this is about the production of management reports. and another one that is more sort of like a theory based, so that you're making a theoretical contribution, right? And so, and I've been, and that's what I'm, been reading and struggling with. I'm basically narrowing down on introducing agency in the model of information system success. And that's what I'll probably do. But I do want to share with you sort of like my notes and and my thoughts about this, so that you can see, how it looks like in the making while you are thinking. Okay, so this is what I do. I basically keep two sets of notes. Okay, notes for writing and notes for thinking. And I learned, with all of these papers on social materiality and so on, I learned to really respect artifacts, and the artifacts where I feel more or less at home when I'm thinking. And I know I prefer to think with a pen. So this is Notability, which is my note-taking app, which I use on my iPad. Okay, so here it is. And the reason I use Notability, is that Notability has an app for the Mac, which basically syncs automatically with the Mac app on the iPad, so I can look at this on this screen when I'm writing. Okay, that's the only reason I use the app on the Mac, is to see what I've written down on the iPad. Okay, and that's because that's me. I need to have a pen to think deeply. Okay, so these are my thinking notes. So my thinking notes, at the beginning, I have the key frames. So these are the ones that I sort of feel comfortable with, and I find most promising. But then basically what I have is here below. As I read papers, I begin to annotate potential frames. Okay, and normally the ones in red are the ones that I think are good. Okay, then I keep some other notes thoughts and so on. But these are the potential frames. So as I read papers, I make reading notes in Scrivener for to write the theory section. Things that I think are important. But for the frame, I write those notes here by hand. Okay, that's what I do. And then the frames that I think are really cool, then I bring them up top. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to go through this with you, and think through them with a little bit more carefully, and explain to you which ones I think are going to work or not. Okay, so first thing is, I found this paper about emergent knowledge processes, and this is a super interesting paper, because it basically says that there is a specific type of knowledge that requires human agency and cannot be coded. And this is a design theory paper, which basically means that the authors are sort of trying to find a set of rules to design information systems that cope with this type of knowledge process. And what I'm bringing to this lecture is that I'm showing what you need to do as a leader. What kind of people do you need to have? What sort of tasks do people need to do? So I'm basically bringing human agency into this process to complement. I'm not saying that design is useless. I'm saying, we need people to sort of work together with information systems that we design to. Sorry about that. I slept really bad this evening. Anyways, so that's it, right? So, that's the first idea. I'm not sure I want to pick this fight. I'm not 100% familiar with design theory, and it just seems like more of a mid-range contribution than a large theoretical contribution. But it's something interesting. So I'm actually going to on my to-do list. I have as a to-do to read a little bit on design science, just to be on the safe side. But just doesn't seem like a powerful enough contribution. Okay, now this I like. This I think is my most favorite, and probably the one I'll go with, is this idea that I have a full model of agency in information systems. Previous papers of mine and others, of course, talk about, so we'll go back to the PowerPoint graph, talk about this arrow here, and this paper is talking about this arrow here, and then in the discussion I'll just talk about the two arrows. Now, what's going to be difficult here is that I've already done something here in this arrow, and so just specifying this arrow again doesn't seem like top journal type of thing. So what I'm saying is that when you come up with a frame for the paper, you still need to make it work. You still need to execute on that frame, and that's not super easy. And and this is going to be difficult because I already have this, so this could be seen as derivative of this. So I need to come up with something new and something special that integrates this in a way that is just not a simple extension of this that could be done theoretically. Okay, because the paper is going to get rejected. It's an extremely high risk, revise and resubmit, so I need to do something good. Okay, good. So let's check other things. But this I think this is where it's at, because this is the phenomenon, and my Transfiguration piece was extremely well received at MS Quarterly. So yeah, I think this is it. Okay, now and so I'm talking about this process for getting value from ISs. I'm going to read this literature on getting value from information systems, but I'm really attracted to this literature on information system success. And bringing agency into that. There's an extensive literature review that is very tech-based. So, the challenge there, again, it's execution, because I need to discuss use as well, which is already in the research on information system success. So, yeah, I need to take a careful look at that and see if there's traction. But the core is this: the agency and the output of information. I think is pretty good. Now, reviewers told me about framing. I didn't find a lot of traction for that in the literature, but I just noted it here as again, bringing agency, collaboration into framing, so how managers interpret data. But I don't know, it also seems like it's a little bit of a stretch for the data, not a lot, but a little bit. And on a high risk revise and resubmit, everything needs to fit silky smooth. So so I have it here, just think about it, but not sure. Then note on IS success. I mean, definitely that's something I need to look at. But I think, the phenomenon is not about IS success. That could be the broader theoretical contribution. So that's where I am now. So I'm mostly sure that I'm going to do this. Big challenge is to make this not being derivative of this, and making a model that brings something really new and novel to the table, rethinks even this paper to the table. Now I wrote this, so that makes it a little bit more difficult, also a little bit easier because I know the process. But I don't know. And if I could tap into this IS success, I think this would be great. Success is a really dangerous construct in management research. So I don't know, but in IS research, management and IS research, it seems so well established that maybe I can pull it off, but I'm just going to check with if value is better than success here. So those are the challenges. So I basically, I think I got the framing okay. I wanted to highlight to you this difference between coming up with the framing and then executing on the framing and how difficult that is, or maybe, and then I'll get back to you once I have the outlines for this to show you how I'm planning to execute. Okay, so hope this was useful. If you're having something at this stage of like a high risk revise and resubmit, or extremely high risk revise and resubmit like mine, hopefully this is helpful. And it, I guess the two key insights is trust your early intuitions. Like I had this intuition, very first slide I did about this data, and trust your early intuitions. And and when you're thinking about framing, think also about how you're going to execute that framing. And it needs to be a little bit difficult because this needs to be a major contribution. It is for a major journal. So there you go. Hope that was helpful, everybody. Well, I'll see you guys and girls and everybody in between tomorrow at noon again. Have a good one. Bye.